Okay.
Right.
Look at that.
Dim bod o, dechrau meddwl na. Right. Rhys, you mentioned just now about an innovation of Llanelli before we start talking about the touring teams. Llanelli had been abroad to several places. Let's go back to the 50s. You went to Moscow. Tell me about the trip to Moscow and how it came about.
Well, it was quite remarkable, really. It was 1957 when words like perestroika and glasnost were not very much in the vogue. But it was an amazing trip. Llanelli were invited. I still can't understand why. Some wag once suggested because we wore red jerseys, as we still do. But it was an amazing trip. We went by train all the way from Llanelli, starting on Saturday midday and got there on a Thursday. It was quite an experience. And we played there, not against the Russians themselves. They'd hardly seen rugby football at all. We played against Czechoslovakia, which is a national side, and Romania as a national side as well, and we were a club side. France apparently sent a team over there, but when they found that we were only a club side, they wouldn't play us, which is, I think, understandable, because we did have a good side in those days, and possibly we could have beaten France.
Do you remember any incidents of that particular trip?
Well, the visit to the Bolshoi, of course, and it happened I was skipper that year. I was invited to the Kremlin to meet Khrushchev, which was in itself quite an experience, and had the pleasure of meeting that great Czech runner, Zatopek, of those days, you know. Those are my personal sort of recollections of it. Though indeed the return journey was somewhat more hasty. We convinced them we should come back by plane, though indeed we all suffered with Asian flu. So it wasn't all that pleasant even coming back. But what an experience. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Let's come back to earth then with a bump to Stradey Park.
Yes.
And your matches, your involvement against touring sides. You had 3 matches in all. What do you remember of those 3 matches?
Well, 51, I played against the Springboks here. They were quite a formidable side, probably one of the best sides that's ever visited the UK. And they were a huge pack and relied essentially on their forward power in the scrum and the line-out in those days, possibly more than the All Blacks do. That was their feature of their play, but they were a huge pack. And though we took the lead here twice, would you believe it, we still lost against them. As indeed was the case in 1953, we played the All Blacks here when Peter Evans was skipper then, Blondie, as flank forward. 57 came along then, and we played against the Wallabies. Unfortunately, the same result, we still lost.
And you're back to the 53 game then, Llanelli 3, New Zealand 17. It sounds, because the tries were, the point values for tries, and those. Was it a convincing defeat?
Well, the All Blacks turned the power on. They were a touring side, and expect them to be exceptionally fit and so on. But that margin didn't appear until the last 10 minutes of the game. Up until then, it was very much in contention. Tucker was playing outside half, and very well, and Denzel Thomas. They both ran very, very well that day. And we could have done, you know, the score didn't suggest really the difference between us, though indeed they had a powerful side. It was virtually their test side, as they played against Cardiff, I think, the following Saturday, and they lost against Cardiff, if you remember. The Cardiff were a good side in those days, anyway.
57, and Llanelli 5, Australia 9. That sounds pretty close.
That was exceptionally close. They scored a try the last minute or 2 against us. Remember, there's a break here, right on their 25, when we were pressing, in actual fact, and they scored. We were a bit unfortunate then. I think we felt we could have won and deserved to win, you know, but there we are. It's on the board. That's the end of it.
How about your contemporaries down here at Stradey? Must have been a few characters on that side.
Well, there was Peter Evans, of course, was the flank forward who played for Wales. There was Howard Ash Davis, the prop forward, who could have played for Wales. Glyndor Jenkins. Remember, of course, I'm talking about the pack, the intelligentsia, of course, first of all. And then, of course, there was the great Carwyn James. There's Cyril Davies, who I later went to Cardiff, who was a great centre, I felt. Certainly an underrated rugby player. One of the best I've ever seen, I think, in his position. There's H Williams, of course, and the great Terry Davis at fullback. Well, he was in a class of his own, I felt. You know, I was privileged really to play with people of this ilk, people of that standing.
Was it R.H. Williams, the captain of Llanelli, who gave Onslwyn Brace and Carwyn James a ticking off during the game?
No, it wasn't that particular game. It was a game against Neath, it was. And can you imagine it, two ballet dancers playing at halfback, both wanting to sling the ball here, there and everywhere, and having done a lot of hard work up front, you know, to see it wasted at times, which they could do. Both great players in their own right. I must qualify before I go any further. But there was an occasion when Neath were pressing on the line here, and they started this juggling business back and forth, and ultimately we had to minor it. And there's an injury, and I called them together and I said, look now, with one or two suitable expletives, Harlem Globetrotters are not playing on Saturday, they play elsewhere. Of course, the trainer went back to the stand, the word went through the stand apparently. Harlem Globetrotters, there we are.
You obviously have very fond memories, not only of Llanelli but of Stradey Park as well.
Oh, tremendous.
What does it mean to you to be a Llanelli player?
Oh, great. The greatest club to me in the world. I live in Cardiff now, and I say that with qualification even before the game starts, and whatever the result is today, it's still a great club. It has a certain atmosphere, a certain Welshness, a certain feeling. The whole town owns you when you play for it. And indeed, not very slow in their criticism either if you're not doing well. But it is it's a pressure point of the town, I think. And to have played for this club obviously is one of the greatest privileges of playing rugby ever, I think.
First class.